Hey boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Learning with Louie. Today is Veterans Day. I hope you guys have a great day today, and we are going to start learning right now. All right, boys and girls, so right now it's good deeds of the day. So a good deed of the day you can do is maybe ask a friend or a parent, brother or sister, or somebody that's close to you, how their day went, and see what reaction they give to you, and let them know you care about them. All right, boys and girls, so I have the letter of the day. Today's letter of the day is I. And I could be for ink. Okay, if you don't know what ink is, this is what ink is right here. Usually it comes in a bottle like this, not necessarily black. There could be other colors, red, green ink, it depends. But this one here, it's a black ink bottle and it comes with a little ink squirter. Okay, so you pop this little thing in here, you squeeze this little thing back here, and it soaks up some ink here. And you could use to put it into maybe a small little, little cup so you could use. So this is the ink bottle here. Again, the letter of the day is I for ink, and here's the ink bottle. All right. We're gonna go ahead and continue to go with our number of the day. So our number of the day is number 10. Okay, and 10 is like this. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So 10, that is our number of the day. Our friend of the day is Mr. Pig. Here's Mr. Pig right here. There you see, pig. And what sound does a pig make? Oink, 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 right? So usually you find pigs on farms. A lot of them come on farms, or a lot of them are on farms. Some of them are in zoos, and a lot of people have them as pets, like a dog, inside their house too. I've seen it. And they are great animals. And this is our friendly friend of the day, Mr. Pig. All right, boys and girls, so we're gonna go ahead and start with our story time. And our book of the day is How My Parents Learned to Eat, here on this Veterans Day. Veteran, you see there's a sailor right there. And if you don't know, I'm a sailor as well, or a veteran. So I served in the United States Navy, just like this gentleman did here, and visited many different ports. So here we go. In our house, some days we eat with chopsticks, and some days we eat with knives and forks. For me, it's natural. Now you can see her. She has her chopsticks there in her dinner table. She's got a lot of stuff going on there. And here's a sailor, look at him. Huh. When my mother met my father, she was a Japanese schoolgirl, and he was an American sailor. His ship was stationed in Yokohama. Every day my father, whose name is John, walked in the park with my mother. Aiko, not sure how to pronounce that, it's A-I-K-O, Aiko. They sat on a bench and talked, but my father was afraid to invite my mother to dinner. There you see them eating there too. So she is a Japanese of nationality, and here's the American sailor. I've never been to Japan, but I have been in that region of Asia, and it's very, very neat. If we go to a restaurant, he thought, I'll go hungry because I don't know how to eat with chopsticks. And if I go hungry, I'll act like a bear. Then Aiko won't like me. I'd better not ask her to dinner. My mother wondered why my father never invited her to dinner. Perhaps John is afraid. I don't know how to eat with a knife and a fork, and I'll look silly, she thought. Maybe it is best if he doesn't invite me to dinner. So they walked and talked and never ate a bowl of rice or a piece of bread together. There they are in the market, you see. He's a tall guy. Tall sailor. Here they are again, coming into, looks like a restaurant. One day, the captain of my ship's father said, "John, in 3 weeks the ship is leaving Japan." My father said, my father was sad. He wanted to marry my mother. How can I ask her to marry me? He thought, I don't know if we like the same food, and if we don't, we'll go hungry. It's hard to be happy if you're hungry, and I'll have to find what food she likes, and I'll have to learn to eat with chopsticks. So he went to the Japanese restaurant. I guess he's gonna give it a try. Everyone sat on cushions around low tables. My father bowed to the waiter. "Please teach me to eat with chopsticks." "Of course," said the waiter, bowing. The waiter brought a bowl of rice and a plate of sukiyaki. Sukiyaki is made with small pieces of meat, vegetables, and tofu. It smelled good. My father wanted to gobble it up. The waiter placed 2 chopsticks between my father's fingers. Hold the bottom chopstick still. Move the top one to pick up the food, the waiter said. My father tried, but the meat slipped off his chopstick and fell on his lap. At least he's giving it a try. You can see him here, the sailor, and everybody's looking on. Even this little kid right here is looking on too. Pretty cool. The waiter came back with a bowl of soup. How can I eat soup with chopsticks? My father thought. Drink, said the waiter. Drink from the bowl. Thank goodness, my father said. After the soup, my father felt better. He picked up the chopsticks. Finally, my father put 1 piece of meat in his mouth. Delicious. More soup, please, he said. After 3 bowls of soup, my father felt much better. Then he practiced some more with his chopsticks. Soon, there was more sukiyaki in his belly than on the floor. So he's not dropping it. But it was too late to call my mother. He had to run back to the ship. So it looks like it's getting ready for him to be time to go. That night, my mother was sad. Every other day, my father had come to see her. That day, he did not come. He did not call on his telephone. Perhaps he was trying to walk. Perhaps he was tired of walking and talking. Perhaps he was ashamed of her because she did not know how to eat with a knife and fork. Perhaps his ship had sailed away. All night, she could not sleep. And all night, my father sat in his bunk, pretending to pick up sukiyaki. So you can see he's kind of practicing here. He's got a little picture of her right there. Interesting, pretty cool. The next morning, my father called my mother. Please, will you eat dinner with me tonight? Yes, my mother shouted onto the phone. First, she was happy. Then she was afraid. She took her school books and ran to the house of Great Uncle. Great Uncle had visited England. He had seen the British Museum. He had eaten dinners with Englishmen. My mother knocked on the door. Great Uncle opened it. So it looks like she's trying to get some guidance. Interesting. Why are you so sad, child? He said. Because I must learn to eat with a knife and fork by 7 o'clock tonight. Great Uncle nodded. Foreign ways are quite strange. Why do you want to eat with a knife and fork? My mother blushed. Is it the American sailor? Great Uncle asked. I see. Here, take this note to your teacher. At lunchtime, I will come and take you to a foreign restaurant. By 7 o'clock tonight, you will eat with a knife and fork. My mother picked up the school bag and bowed. No, Great Uncle stuck out his hand. In the West, you shake hands. So here they are, having their little discussion before the big dinner. The restaurant had red carpets and many lights. Great Uncle pulled out a chair for my mother. In the West, men help ladies into chairs. He he told her. My mother looked at the small fork and the large fork on the left. She looked at the knife, little spoon, and big spoon on the right. Her head grew dizzy. Different utensils for different foods? Great uncle said. How strange to dirty so many things, said my mother. A chopstick is a chopstick. I can eat everything with 2 chopsticks. So you see how it's all set up here? There is the dinner dish there. You got 2 sets of forks, you got a knife, you got a spoon. And same thing for the person across from you. When the waiter brought the soup, Great Uncle pointed at the large spoon. Dip it slowly, bring it to your mouth, sip quietly. My mother's hand trembled. The soup spilled onto her white cloth. You'll learn, Great Uncle encouraged her. When my mother was finished with the soup, the waiter brought her a plate of mashed potatoes, roast beef, and peas. This is the way Westerners eat, Great Uncle said. With the knife and a fork, they cut the meat. Then they hold the fork upside down in their left hand. Like birds, they build a nest of mashed potatoes. They build the peas in the nest with the knife. Then they slip the nest into their mouth. Try it. The mashed potatoes were not difficult, but the peas rolled all over the plate. Impossible, said my mother. I'll never learn by 7 o'clock tonight. You can learn anything, Great Uncle said. Try again. More mashed potatoes and peas, please, he said to the waiter. At 7 o'clock, my father came to see my mother. Why didn't you wear your kimono? He asked. We are going to a Japanese restaurant. A Japanese restaurant? Don't you think I know how to eat Western food? My mother asked. Of course. Don't you think I know how to eat Japanese food? Of course. Then tonight we'll eat meat and potatoes. Tomorrow night we'll eat sukiyaki. Tomorrow night I will wear my kimono, my mother said. She started to bow. Then she stopped and put out her hand. My father shook it. Okay. So they're kind of exchanging each other's differences in cultures. Very cool. My father ordered 2 plates of mashed potatoes, roast beef, and peas. He watched my mother cut the meat into pieces. He stared when she turned over her fork and made a bird's nest. He was amazed. You are very clever with the knife and fork, he said. Thank you, said my mother. You must teach me, my father said. That's a new way of eating peas. Teach you? Yes, Americans don't eat that way. He slid his fork under some peas and put them in his mouth. My mother stared at him. But Great Uncle taught me. He lived in England. He knows the ways of the West. My father began to laugh. He taught you to eat like an Englishman. Americans eat differently. Oh dear, my mother said. A chopstick is a chopstick. Everyone uses them in the way. Yes, when we are married, we'll eat only with chopsticks. He took her hand. Married, if I marry you, I want to eat like an American. I'll teach you how to eat with a knife and a fork, and you teach me to use chopsticks. My mother shook my father's hands. My father bowed. That's why at our house, some days we eat with chopsticks and some days we eat with knives and forks. So, on this Veterans Day, this is how my parents learned to eat by Ina R. Friedman and illustrated by Alan Say. So, really good book. So this is our story time of the day. All right, boys and girls, thanks for watching this episode of Learning with Louie. Let's go ahead and recap on some of the things that we learned today. First, we have our letter of the day. You guys remember what the letter was? It is I. I is for ink. And if you don't remember what the ink looks like, there's the ink right there. All right? So the letter of the day is I. Our number of the day, do you remember this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So the number of the day is number 10. Number 10, that's the number of the day. And our friendly friend of the day was Mr. Pig. Here's Mr. Pig here, remember? You find Mr. Pig in barns. Sometimes you can find him at the zoo. And sometimes he is pets or a pet. Okay, so Mr. Pig, that is your friendly friend of the day. And our story time. Story of the day is How My Parents Learned to Eat. Again, by Ina R. Friedman, illustrated by Alan Say. Great story about changing their cultures and learning how to eat in different ways, one with chopstick and one with forks, spoons, knives, and our utensils here. So that is our story of the day. Okay, and that's what we learned for today here on this Veterans Day. All right, boys and girls, thanks for watching this episode. We will see you tomorrow on Friday. Again, hope you guys had a great time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notify, set your notifications to on, and share so we get more kids to watch some learning videos and move forward with that. We have some more going on tomorrow and then more into next week. So thank you guys for tuning in to Learning with Louie, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.